Hello, I am the Reverend Elaine Yabazak, and this is my 6th video for Revelation Faithbook, in which I will be reading the Easter story today. God Påska, which means Happy Easter in Norwegian. Christos Anesti, which means He is risen in Greek. Today I shall be reading from Luke 22 through 24, the easy-to-read version. It was almost time for the Jewish festival of unleavened bread, called the Passover. The leading priests and teachers of the law wanted to kill Jesus, but they were trying to find a quiet way to do it, because they were afraid of what the people would do. One of Jesus' 12 apostles was named Judas Iscariot. Satan entered him, and he went and talked with the leading priests and some of the soldiers who guarded the temple. He talked to them about a way to hand Jesus over to them. The priests were very happy about this. They promised to give Judas money for doing this. He agreed. Then he waited for the best time to hand him over to them. He wanted to do it when no one was around to see it. The day of unleavened bread came. This was the day when the Jews always kill the lambs for the Passover. Jesus said to Peter and John, "Go and prepare the Passover meal for us to eat." They said to him, "Where do you want us to prepare the meal?" He said to them, "When you go into the city, you will see a man carrying a jar of water. Follow him. He will go into a house. Tell the owner of the house, the teacher asks that you please show us the room where he and his followers can eat the Passover meal. Then the owner will show you a large room upstairs that is ready for us. Prepare the meal there." So Peter and John left. Everything happened the way Jesus said, so they prepared the Passover meal. The time came for them to eat the Passover meal. Jesus and the apostles were together at the table. Jesus said to them, "I wanted very much to eat this Passover meal with you before I die. I will never eat another Passover meal until it is given its full meaning in God's kingdom." Now what I'm soon to do is have a little communion service within my speech here, and my beliefs is that only Christians can partake of the bread and the wine. In this case, I have cranberry juice and matzah, so you can participate if you are saved. That is my faith, what I believe in. Only those who are born-again Christians can partake of this. Then Jesus took a cup of wine. He gave thanks to God for it and said, "Take this cup and give it to everyone here. I will never drink wine again until God's kingdom comes." Then he took some bread. and thanked God for it. He broke off some pieces, gave them to the apostles, and said, "This bread is my body that I'm giving for you. Eat this to remember me." In the same way, after supper, Jesus took the cup of wine and said, "This wine represents the new agreement from God to his people. It will begin when my blood is poured out for you." Jesus said, "But here on this table is the hand of one who will hand me over to my enemies. The Son of Man will do what God has planned, but it will be very bad for the ones who hands over the Son of Man to be killed." Then the apostles asked each other, which one of us would do that? Later, the apostles began to argue about which one of them was the most important. But Jesus said to them, "The kings of this world rule over the people, and those who have authority over others want to be called the great providers for the people. But you must not be like that. The one with the most authority among you should act as if he was the least important. The one who leads should be like the one who serves. Who is more important, the one serving or the one sitting at the table being served? Everyone thinks it's the one being served, right? But I have been with you as the one who serves. You men have stayed with me through many struggles, so I give you authority to rule with me in the kingdom the Father has given me. You will eat and drink at my table in that kingdom. You will sit on thrones and judge the 12 tribes of Israel. Satan has asked to test you men like a farmer tests his wheat. Oh, Simon, Simon, I have prayed that you will not lose your faith. Help your brothers be stronger when you come back to me." But Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, I am ready to go to jail with you. I will even die with you." But Jesus said, "Peter, before the rooster crows tomorrow morning, you will say you don't know me. You will say this 3 times. Then Jesus said to the apostles, "Remember when I sent you out without money, a bag, or sandals? Did you need anything?" The apostles said, "No." Jesus said to them, "But now if you have money or a bag, carry that with you. If you don't have a sword, sell your coat and buy one." The scriptures say he was considered a criminal. The scripture must happen. It was written about me, and it is happening now. The followers said, "Look, Lord, here are 2 swords." Jesus said to them, "That's enough." Jesus left the city and went to the Mount of Olives. His followers went with him. He went there often. He said to his followers, "Pray for strength against temptation." Then Jesus went about 50 steps away from them. He knelt down and prayed, "Father, if you are willing, please don't make me drink from this cup, but do what you want, not what I want." Then an angel from heaven came to help him. Jesus was full of pain. He struggled hard in prayer. Sweat dripped from his face like drops of blood falling to the ground. When he finished praying, he went to his followers. He found them asleep, worn out from their grieving. Jesus said to them, "Why are you sleeping? Get up and pray for strength against temptation." While Jesus was speaking, a crowd came up. It was led by Judas, one of the 12 apostles. He came over to Jesus to kiss him. But Jesus said to him, "Judas, are you using the kiss of friendship to hand over the Son of Man to his enemies?" The followers of Jesus were standing there too. They saw what was happening and said to Jesus, "Lord, should we use our swords?" And one of them did use his sword. He cut off the right ear of the servant of the high priest. Jesus said, "Stop." Then he touched the servant's ear and healed him. Jesus spoke to the group that came to arrest him. They were the leading priests, the older Jewish leaders, and the Jewish soldiers. He said to them, "Why did you come out here with swords and clubs? Do you think I am a criminal? I was with you every day in the temple area. Why didn't you try to arrest me there? But this is your time, the time when darkness rules." They arrested Jesus and took him away to the house of the high priest. Peter followed Jesus but stayed back at a distance. The soldiers started a fire in the middle of the yard and sat together. Peter sat with them. A servant girl saw him sitting there. She could see because of the light from the fire. She looked closely at Peter's face. Then she said, "This man was also with Jesus." But Peter said this was not true. He said, "Lady, I don't know him." A short time later, someone else saw Peter and said, "You are also one of them." But Peter said, "Man, I am not." About an hour later, another man said, "It's true, I'm sure this man was with him because he is from Galilee." But Peter said, "Man, I don't know what you were talking about." Immediately, while he was still speaking, a rooster crowed. Then the Lord turned and looked into Peter's eyes. And Peter remembered what the Lord had said, "Before the rooster crows in the morning, you will say 3 times that you don't know me." Then Peter went outside and cried bitterly. The men guarding Jesus made fun of him and beat him. They covered his eyes so that he could not see them. Then they hit him and said, "Be a prophet and tell us who hit you." And they shouted all kinds of insults at him. The next morning, the older leaders of the people, the leading priests, and the teachers of the law came together. They led Jesus away to their high council. They said, "If you are the Messiah, then tell us that you are." Jesus said to them, "If I tell you I am the Messiah, you will not believe me. And if I ask you, you will not answer. But beginning now, the Son of Man will sit at the right side of God, all-powerful." They all said, "Then are you the Son of God?" Jesus said to them, "You are right in saying that I am." They said, "Why do we need witnesses now? We all heard what he said." Then the whole group stood up and led Jesus away to Pilate. They began to accuse Jesus and said to Pilate, "We caught this man trying to change the thinking of our people. He says we should not pay taxes to Caesar. He calls himself the Messiah, a king." Pilate asked Jesus, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus answered, "Yes, what you say is true." Pilate said to the leading priests and the people, "I find nothing wrong with this man." But they kept on saying, "His teaching is causing trouble all over Judea. He began in Galilee and now he is here." Pilate heard this and asked if Jesus was from Galilee. He learned that Jesus was under Herod's authority. Herod was in Jerusalem at that time, so Pilate sent Jesus to him. When Herod saw Jesus, he was very happy. He had heard all about him and had wanted to meet him for a long time. Herod wanted to see a miracle, so he was hoping that Jesus would do one. He asked him many questions, but Jesus said nothing. The leading priests and teachers of the law were standing there shouting things against Jesus. Then Herod and his soldiers laughed at him. They made fun of him by dressing him in clothes like kings wear. Then Herod sent him back to Pilate. In the past, Pilate and Herod had always been enemies, but on that day, they became friends. Pilate called all the people together with the leading priests and the Jewish leaders. He said to them, "You brought this man to me. You said he was trying to change the people, but I judged him before you all and have not found him guilty of the things you say he has done." Herod didn't find him guilty either. He sent him back to us. "Look, he has done nothing bad enough for the death penalty, so after I punish him, I will let him go free." But they all shouted, "Kill him! Let Barabbas go free!" Barabbas was a man who was in jail for starting a riot in a city and for murder. Pilate wanted to let Jesus go free, so again Pilate told them that he would let him go. But they shouted again, "Kill him! Kill him on a cross!" A third time, Pilate said to the people, "Why? What wrong has he done? He is not guilty. I can find no reason to kill him, so I will let him go free after I punish him." But the people continued to shout. They demanded that Jesus be killed on a cross. Their shouting got so loud that Pilate decided to give them what they wanted. They wanted Barabbas to go free, the one who was in jail for starting a riot and for murder. Pilate let Barabbas go free, and he handed Jesus over to be killed. This is what the people wanted. The soldiers led Jesus away. At that same time, there was a man from Cyrene named Simon coming into the city from the fields. The soldiers forced him to carry Jesus across and walk behind him. A large crowd followed Jesus. Some of the women were sad and crying. They felt sorry for him, but Jesus turned and said to the women, "Women of Jerusalem, don't cry for me. Cry for yourselves and for your children too. The time is coming when people will say, 'The women who cannot have babies are the ones God has blessed.' It's really a blessing that they have no children to care for. Then the people will say to the mountains, 'Fall on us.' They will say to the hills, 'Cover us.' If this can happen to someone who is good, what will happen to those who are guilty?" There were also 2 criminals led out with Jesus to be killed. They were led to a place called the Skull. There the soldiers nailed Jesus to the cross. They also nailed the criminals to crosses beside Jesus, one on the right and the other on the left. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them. They don't know what they are doing." The soldiers threw dice to divide Jesus' clothes between them. The people stood there watching everything. The Jewish leaders laughed at Jesus. They said, "If he is God's chosen one, the Messiah, then let him save himself. He saved others, didn't he?" Even the soldiers laughed at Jesus and made fun of him. They came and offered him some sour wine. They said, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself." At the top of the cross, these words were written, "This is the King of the Jews." One of the criminals hanging there began to shout insults at Jesus. "Aren't you the Messiah? Then save yourself and save us too." But the other criminal stopped him. He said, "You should fear God. All of us will die soon. You and I are guilty. We deserve to die because we did wrong. But this man has done nothing wrong." Then he said, "Jesus, remember me when you begin ruling as king." Then Jesus said to him, "I promise you today you will be with me in paradise." It was about noon, but it turned dark throughout the land until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, because the sun stopped shining. The curtain in the temple was torn into 2 pieces. Jesus shouted, "Father, I put my life in your hands." After Jesus said this, he died. The army officers there saw what happened. He praised God, saying, "I know this man was a good man." Many people had come out of the city to see all this. When they saw it, they felt very sorry and left. The people who were close friends of Jesus were there. Also, there were some women who had followed Jesus from Galilee. They all stood far away from the cross and watched these things. A man named Joseph was there from the Jewish town of Arimathea. He was a good man who lived the way God wanted. He was waiting for God's kingdom to come. Joseph was a member of the Jewish council, but he did not agree when the other Jewish leaders decided to kill Jesus. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. He took the body down from the cross and wrapped it in cloth. Then he put it in a tomb that was dug in a wall of rock. This tomb had never been used before. It was late on preparation day. When the sun went down, the Sabbath day would begin. The women who had come from Galilee with Jesus followed Joseph. They saw the tomb. Inside they saw where he put Jesus' body. Then they left to prepare some sweet-smelling spices to put on the body. On the Sabbath day they rested as commanded in the law of Moses. Very early Sunday morning, the women came to the tomb where Jesus' body was laid. They brought the sweet-smelling spices they had prepared. They saw that the heavy stone that covered the entrance had been rolled away. They went in, but they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. They did not understand this. While they were wondering about it, 2 men in shining clothes stood beside them. The women were very afraid. They bowed down with their faces to the ground. The men said to them, "Why are you looking for a living person here? This is a place for dead people." Jesus is not here. He has risen from the dead. Do you remember what he said in Galilee? He said, "The Son of Man must be handed over to the control of sinful men, be killed on a cross, and rise from death on the 3rd day." Then the women remembered what Jesus had said. The women left the tomb and went to the 11 apostles and the other followers. They told them everything that happened at the tomb. These women were Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of Jesus, and some others. They told the apostles everything that happened, but the apostles did not believe what they said. It sounded like nonsense. But Peter got up and ran to the tomb to see. He looked in, but he only saw the cloth that Jesus' body had been wrapped in. It was just lying there. Peter went away to be alone, wondering what had happened. The same day, 2 of Jesus' followers were going to a town named Emmaus. It is about 7 miles from Jerusalem. They were talking about everything that had happened. While they were talking, discussing these things, Jesus himself came near and walked with them. But the 2 men were not allowed to recognize Jesus. He asked them, "What's this I hear you discussing with each other as you walk?" The 2 men stopped, their faces looking very sad. The one named Cleopas said, "You must be the only person in Jerusalem who doesn't know what has just happened there." Jesus said, "What are you talking about?" They said, "It's about Jesus, the one from Nazareth, To God and to all the people he was a great prophet. He said and did many powerful things, but our leaders and the leading priests handed him over to be judged and killed. They nailed him to a cross. We were hoping that he would be the one to free Israel, but then all this happened. And now something else. It has been 3 days since he was killed. But today, some of our women told us an amazing thing. Early this morning, they went to the tomb where the body of Jesus was laid, but they did not find his body there. They came and told us that they had seen some angels in a vision. The angels told them Jesus was alive, so some of our group went to the tomb also. It was just as the women said. They saw the tomb, but they did not see Jesus. Then Jesus said to the two men, "You are foolish and slow to realize what is true. You should believe everything the prophet said. The prophet said the Messiah must suffer these things before he begins his time of glory." Then he began to explain everything that had been written about himself in the scriptures. He started with the books of Moses, and then he talked about what the prophets had said about him. They came near the town of Emmaus, and Jesus acted as if he did not plan to stop there. But they wanted him to stay. They begged him, "Stay with us. It's almost night. There's hardly any daylight left," so he went in to stay with them. Joining them at the supper table, Jesus took some bread and gave thanks. Then he broke some off and gave it to them. Just then, the men were allowed to recognize him. But when they saw who he was, he disappeared. They said to each other, "When he talked to us on the road, it felt like a fire burning in us. How exciting it was when he explained to us the true meaning of the scriptures." So the two men got up and went back to Jerusalem. There they found the followers of Jesus meeting together. The 11 apostles and the people with them said, "The Lord really has risen from the dead. He appeared to Simon." Then the two men told what had happened on the road. They talked about how they recognized Jesus when he shared the bread with them. While the two men were saying these things to the other followers, Jesus himself came and stood among them. He said to them, "Peace be with you." This surprised the followers. They were afraid. They thought they were seeing a ghost, but Jesus said, "Why are you troubled? Why do you doubt what you see? Look at my hands and my feet. It's really me. Touch me. You can see that I have a living body. A ghost does not have a body like this." After Jesus told them this, he showed them his hands and feet. The followers were amazed and very, very happy to see that Jesus was alive. They still could not believe what they saw. He said to them, "Do you have any food here?" They gave him a piece of cooked fish. While the followers watched, he took the fish and ate it. Jesus said to them, remember when I was with you before. I said that everything written about me must happen, everything written in the law of Moses, the books of the prophets, and the Psalms." Then Jesus helped the followers understand these scriptures about him. Jesus said to them, "It is written that the Messiah would be killed and rise from the dead on the third day. You saw these things happen. You are witnesses. You must go and tell people that they must change and turn to God, which will bring them his forgiveness. You must start from Jerusalem and tell this message in my name to the people of all nations. Remember that I will send you the one my Father promised. Stay in the city until you are given that power from heaven." Jesus led his followers out of Jerusalem almost to Bethany. He raised his hands and blessed his followers. While he was blessing them, he was separated from them and carried into heaven. They worshipped him and went back to Jerusalem very happy. They stayed at the temple all the time, praising God. This is the conclusion of my 6th video of Revelation Faithbook. I was happy to read the Easter story to you today. And I wish everybody happy Palm Sunday, happy Easter, Gu Polska, and Christos Anesti. So now I'm going to do a little fun fact thing here. Guess you notice all the flowers up there. This was my bouquet for when I got married. Okay, here we have flowers. I used 2 bridesmaid bouquets, and the middle one, the big one there, that was my bridal bouquet. I figured instead of going out to the store and getting Easter lilies, I don't know, they're probably expensive. I don't know, I didn't check it out. My niece Annika, as I said in a previous video, made these. This white snowflake here. I guess you could call it a snowflake. It looks like a snowflake. And this bright, colorful one here in pastel colors. I think I'm adjusting the camera correctly here. I have it set differently where I can't see what I'm filming. This is, I think I got it in focus, my champagne glass for the toast from my wedding. It seems like I have more like a wedding theme going on than an Easter theme. I hope that's not so, but I just did this to make things look more decorative. And this is part of the centerpiece I had at my wedding. And so is the flower on the Bible. And the flower on the Bible is part of the centerpiece. And this, you would think, is a tablecloth. Actually, it isn't. It is a hefty trash bag. Okay.